When we talk about your destiny and what that means for you, it's helpful to think about the ley lines of your life, the blueprint of, if we were just to freeze frame all of the potentials that are active for you right now in your journey and your conscious awareness, it would look like these lines, almost like a maze, except a maze usually doesn't have overlapping sections. And when we look at the blueprint of all of your potentials that are active at one time, you'll see that there are segments that are surrounding you, like your conscious awareness, your being, you in every direction, every cardinal direction, every possible cardinal direction in space and time. You have a lifeline emanating out of your auric field. And this allows for a material world and a potential to latch onto you. And there are segments that are overlapping. I call these convergence points, by the way. And I first reference it in my Oblivion series, where I talk about the night that I was murdered and how I was reality shifting at that time, but I was not awake to it. And now that I have a framework for reality shifting, I can go back retrospectively and see that from a different angle. But from the viewpoint of an observer at that moment, I had 3 different narratives that were attaching onto me, which then resulted in 3 different hands, 3 different motives. And then as I started awakening to reality shifting, I started understanding that at some points there would be a convergence of timelines, meaning that when a moment of destiny is happening, it's like all roads are leading to Rome. You know what I mean? All roads are leading to your Dallas apartment to get you where you need to go. But it doesn't make sense. Dying is always bad. I'm not recommending that anybody go out and die. I'm definitely not at all recommending that. First of all, you don't know how many lives you actually have. Second of all, you don't know if you actually have quantum immortality. And I've spoken to several people that have told me stories, and I have every reason to believe them. So I have one listener who I've been talking with. Hey, how's it going? And she has numerous stories from when she was young, 2 notable ones that she shared with me. One where she was like 6 years old driving with her family and had a horrific car accident. And, oh, I have chills. Horrific car accident, and had to see it, live through it and everything. And then there was a rewind of time. And then she was back in the car. And then she was able to tell her father, hey, watch out. Papa, watch out. And he was able to maneuver and get out of the way in time. And so she saved her family's life. And then another time when she was like at Six Flags and jumped off of a building. I'm not recommending anybody do this, right? Nobody do this. This is, it's not as seen on TV. We are not teaching that this is a good idea. But there was something in her that compelled her. And she remembers seeing the horror on people's faces as she fell as a girl. And time rewinds, and that never happened. She was all of a sudden in a timeline where that never happened, but that memory stayed with her. And she even asked her mom about it, and her mom in that timeline looked at her like she was crazy. So she was like, okay, I'm not gonna talk about this anymore. But she was having trouble processing it. So there is a burden that comes with that. And there are other time glitches that she's experienced as well. Now, there is somebody, a commenter on my TikTok, who told me that they died like 30 times, including unaliving themselves. Again, not pro this whatsoever, but also experience quantum immortality, like just spawning again over and over again. And there are others as well who have died and either actually believe that they've died, like myself, or say that they had a near-death experience because they haven't processed the quantum probability that they could have died and also still be alive. Or they didn't have a full death experience and just got close to death. There is that possibility too. And so there is a group of people that apparently have experienced death. I have experienced it in multiple timelines and feel as though I'm pretty sure I'm on my last life. I'm pretty sure that when I die, this next time that I'm gone. But I don't know. You know, I could be broadcasting from Sirius B then, or, you know, who knows? I might just make a jump intergalactically and my consciousness is backed up somewhere. Anyway, so the point is that sometimes there are driving forces that will get you to points of convergence where there are multiple timelines that are overlapping. And normally, if your life, if we mapped it out, looks like a maze, so you start traveling down one direction and you take a right and you take a left and then you go down and you take another left, and then that's going to be opposed to another lifeline unless you do a quantum jump or some quantum traveling, right? Because you're fixed into this section of your web. I see it like a web, a maze web. And if you're following, and so you're fixed into a quadrant and you're traversing, let's say, the northwest quadrant, if we're just looking at it on a 2D representation. And so then the southeast direction, we could say, is normally closed off to you in a linear existence confined to space-time, which in binary societies, I think exclusively are confined to space-time. Quantum societies, not so much, but I don't have the full picture of that right now. And so in a binary orientation, then you would never go to the southeast quadrant ever in your life. And there would also be no convergence points unless the convergence points happen towards the boundary of the northeast or the northwest and the southeast. And so there could be convergence points before you're really solidified in that direction. But for the most part, you're gone. You're there. Now, in quantum arrangements, there's more of an overlap. I'm seeing like several planes on top of each other, and this opens up the options for you. And then the convergence points will be more plentiful, potentially. I don't actually know if that's true. This is theory. I'm revealing how I have this cognitive map in my mind, and it's not perfect and it's still coming together. And so this recording in August 2023 is subject to change and morph and grow. But in a quantum arrangement, you have a maze upon a maze upon a maze, or a web upon a web upon a web. And so there are like little wormholes or chutes at those convergence points that can take you to another plane of existence that doesn't necessarily derive from that binary orientation, from that origin map that you had. And so as a result, you have much bigger opportunities potentially that could open up. You can take some hard left turns or some nosedives into completely different life paths. And navigating there requires a lot from you. Like, you can't be the same person, because if you're the same person, if you keep the same web of your life, then you never really get to move that far, right? You stay like on that central map. And that central map is fine. That origin map is fine, right? For most people and for a lot of people. And it's like you wake up, you set dreams and goals, you follow society standards, this is what it used to be in America, and everything's changing now. It's like you went to high school, you became an adult, and then you went to college, and then you got a job, and then you got another job, and then you got another job. But it used to be a different story. And even this story is changing, which I love because I hated that framework personally. And so it used to be like you went to high school, you became an adult. If you were a woman, identified as a woman from birth, you stayed as a woman, and you typically got married because at some point you couldn't even open a checking account without a husband. And you raised your kids, and, happily ever after. God forbid he didn't treat you right. Hopefully he did. You better make sure he's happy, like this whole pressure, right, of that system. And we graduated from that system, thank goodness. And there were other systems too that were even more horrific. Like, this is Caucasian systems of oppression. And there are other systems of oppression that we also outgrew and continue to outgrow. And so as a result, there's these from birth until death maps that your culture gives you. And that works for most people, and now there's not even a guarantee of a golden parachute at the end. Like there's not even pensions anymore, and there's not like one job and one career that you have to do anymore. Now there's much more exploration, which is great. And there's many modalities for which to construct a life. Like you don't even have to maintain the same gender. You don't have to follow the rules of sexuality or preferences that came before. And I mean, that's going to continue to expand as well. We were already getting into genetic medicine, customized medicine. That's just the beginning of this high-tech future. And I remember a place where we could pick our bodies and pick our form, and it was fun, like kind of steampunk. I remember the steampunk club that you could wear this mask, but it wasn't a mask that you put on from the outside. It was like almost like a setting and this tube that you could get in. And, or maybe I'm blending the technologies. Anyway, so you could change your facial features without having to get Botox or injectables or plastic surgery, in really cool and fun ways. And it was almost like this artistic expression. So there are many options out there, right? But if you are predominantly coming from one of those older archaic systems, then you never think about these things. You're definitely not listening. And so now when we start getting to quantum traveling, then we start to realize that there are many, many forms of life and life forms and potentially planets. And like, we're already opening up to that, right? It's a process. It's a gradient process. We can't just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to go to exoplanet Iridium Nexus 3-B-3CCC. Like, you have to awaken to allow for these new technologies, these new possibilities to come in. And meanwhile, it's like our society looks mostly the same, but we go through some crazy breakneck speed technological innovations that only the openest minds are excited about. Most people are terrified, right? It's like most people just get really scared with that level of change. But the first early adopters are going to be so super psyched about this. And the leading lines of societies are going to also be really just like, thank God we can do it differently. Like, these systems have been so broken for so long, and now we're finally getting an upgrade. I personally am super excited about it. Does that mean that it's going to be perfect? No. But I do believe that we need some designers to, and some thought leaders to help to make sure that we're doing things in an ethical way, that we're doing it with security in mind, with protection of people's rights and liberties, that we're doing it from a humanitarian point of view. And it's a big job. So we need a lot of people that are thinking about that. And the good news is that the vantage point that I'm sitting from, I see evidence of that we're moving in that direction. But it does look a little rocky at some points. I'm not going to lie. So the convergence points bring together almost like this triangle. It's like a vortex. If we're thinking about space and time as being a flat piece of paper or a flat section, then a convergence in the quantum will sort of pull down a section of that in a funnel to make sure that the timelines go down to where they're supposed to go down and to hit the plane of existence that you're supposed to be at the right planar coordinates. It's not a perfect way to explain it, but that's as good as I can do right now. And when you have a date with destiny, what you're going to find is that there are going to be multiple lifelines that converge down into a funnel to make sure that you get where you're supposed to go. And I don't know the regulating factors, organizations, entities. I know what people say in mainstream culture. There's a divine plan and there's a soul and it's all encoded in us. And I've adopted these things as reasonable, plausible explanations, but they've always felt a little, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but they've always felt a little absent of details and absent of authors, like, who wrote this map, and do I still agree to it? No, I don't have a choice. I don't have a voice from this position of consciousness. Why is that? And it turns out that sometimes that is in your best interest. And I'm reminded of my ex-husband who told me this great story the last time we talked several years ago. Great story of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And he, it's been so long since he told it to me, and I haven't refreshed my memory on the details, so I probably will get it wrong, but it stood out to me as so symbolically powerful because it's obviously a really intense hike and it's over multiple days, and they have Sherpas and people that help out, and there's camping along the way. And he was talking about prepping for it and then getting there, and it was kicking his ass like it kicks everybody's, right? And he was really surprised that on the last night they actually hiked during the night and dark, and they hit the vista right as the sun was rising. And so he thought that that's, it was like a really great plan to hike during the night so you could see the sunrise. And what a beautiful sunrise. It was completely worth it, right? But he was talking to one of the people that was helping the Sherpas and saying, wow, great job, and by the way, I really liked hiking at night, so we could see the sunrise in the morning, and it was a nice touch. And apparently the guide was like, no, you don't understand. You see, this was my ex-husband's narrative to explain it, which I think is beautiful. to frame how he sees the world. Not that, I mean, it's only one example. When we do narratives in one-on-one coaching, we dig into this a little bit more. You can't just take a singular example and say that this is a worldview, but it's really beautiful. Because he was like, what a precious gift. This hard work paid off. What a surprise. It was really challenging, but it was totally worth it. So the guide tells him, no, you don't understand. Apparently, the last little bit of Mount Kilimanjaro is so steep, so challenging, and so hard that, oh, I have chills again on my arms, that when they do it in the daylight, people tap out, people break their ankles, or they fall. But when they do it at night, almost everybody makes it there. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just so beautiful? So they force people to hike in the dark where they can't see anything, to hide the fact of how brutally challenging it is. Because if you really saw it, you'd get so freaked out. You'd be like, nope, I'm tapping out. Next, nope. You know, like the commenter on TikTok, unaliving himself and dying like 30 times. He's like, I'm tapping out. And the universe is like, nope, no, you have a date with destiny, man. Sorry, you can't tap out. You can't do it. It's not what you think it is. Reality is not how you were shown on TV. And there is a group of us that we are awakening beyond what has ever been taught before. And if you are along for the ride, welcome, because it is so fun, I have to tell you. And having now talked to people in a wide variety of sectors and spheres, ages and abilities, and I have to tell you, I'm really excited. And if we are effectively on Mount Kilimanjaro and we're hiking in the dark, and we don't have the map, we don't have our divine plan, we don't get a copy of it. I used to be really mad about this, and so I still bring it up as kind of a funny example now. We need to trust whatever is encoded in us, because that is a map. It's like the guide that is taking you up the last little bit of Mount Kilimanjaro. It's like, this way. No, you don't need to see. You don't need to understand. This way. Just keep going, one foot in front of the other. And then we get to this, oh, chills again, I love that. We get to this vista where it all pays off in the end. And now, having been on this journey for a little bit, and at first I was kicking and screaming and trying to tap out, I'm starting to get a glimpse of the vista. And I have to tell you, I am so excited. Seriously. Like, we never have to do things the way we've done them before. For somebody that has been trapped in outdated systems, this is like a version of heaven. I know sometimes it seemed like a version of hell, but it's like we'd never have to do what we've done before ad nauseum in repetition that never really worked for a lot of people, right? And okay, can I just say it? It worked for dinosaurs. Seriously. Oh, this is the way we've always done it. Oh, God. We never have to do it like that again. So when you have a date with destiny, you may not know what your destiny is. You may just get like little slivers and little glimpses and glances. It's like you'll feel it. You'll feel that you're supposed to go to LA. You don't know why you're supposed to go there. You don't have a job lined up. You don't have a place to live. Right now, the homeless situation, I'm not sure if it's a great time to go, but you'll feel the timing of it. You will feel where you're supposed to be, and you don't have to explain it to anybody. I've got to go to Portland. I know that I'm going to Portland. I don't know when, but it's going to be in the next 4 years. It's like I'm already getting a sense of it, right? So trust those feelings, those intuitions that you have. For you, it could be like, I need to start playing the guitar, because maybe playing the guitar is going to help you bump into the right people that is going to lead you to that convergence point to get you to your date with destiny. It could be something so small, like I need to go grab coffee here. I need to go to this restaurant. These are all serendipities, right? Right place, right time. That's exactly where that vortex is trying to lead you. Because maybe somebody comes up and says, hey, I've noticed you before. Have we met? And then that's a life-changing connection. So those little tiny nudges, those little tiny cravings, if you will, it's like, man, I'm really craving whatever it is. Or I really feel like I need to go to this restaurant today. I was going to do something different. So these are all like just very small daily life things that can pull you closer to your date with destiny. And when you are in tune with your intuition, and this is advanced intuition, when you're in tune with it, then you can navigate through your day-to-day life to get you to your date with destiny. So listen, if you want to work one-on-one, I am a reality shifting coach. And if you're trying to get to your destiny and you want to book a session to try to get in touch with your intuition, to talk it out, if you're in the middle of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and just need a voice of encouragement, it's like you can do it, keep going one foot in front of the other, feel free to reach out to me. My email is sacredjourneyproductions@gmail.com. Okay, we'll talk next time.